The first day of school was supposed to be nerve-wracking for anyone, but for Alina, it wasn't fear that tightened her chest, it was the heavy silence of carrying a past no one here knew. She walked through the gates with a calmness that made her seem mysterious, her dark eyes scanning the crowd. To the students who noticed, she looked like a quiet new girl, maybe even an easy target. What they didn't know was that she had lived through battles much tougher than high school drama. It started in the cafeteria. A group of loud, arrogant bullies sat at their usual spot, feeding off the attention of everyone around them. They thrived on humiliating anyone weaker than them, and the moment they saw Alina quietly sitting alone with her tray, they sensed an opportunity. The leader, a tall boy with a cruel smirk, nudged his friends. "Watch this," he whispered. He walked over, towering above her table, and without a word, tried to slap her cheek, expecting her to flinch, to shrink, to look small. But the slap never landed. In a blur, Alina caught his wrist midair. Her grip was iron. The cafeteria fell into a frozen silence as she calmly pushed his hand away, her expression unreadable. "Don't try that again," she said, her voice low but steady, carrying a weight that made even the toughest kids feel a chill. For the first time, the bully had no words. His friends laughed nervously, unsure if they should step in. That's when the story of the new girl truly began to spread. What no one knew was that Alina's strength wasn't just physical. She had grown up in an environment where survival meant learning to fight. Her father, once a professional martial artist, had taught her discipline and technique, not for violence, but for self-defense. She had seen enough pain in her life to understand that fighting wasn't about proving power, it was about protecting dignity. The bullies, however, didn't learn their lesson. The next day, they cornered her in the hallway. This time, they weren't joking. They shoved her books to the ground, sneering. "You think you're tough? You embarrassed us yesterday. Let's see you fight now." A crowd began to gather, hungry for drama. Alina's heart raced, but not out of fear. She wasn't just facing bullies, she was facing a choice. She could fight back and risk getting in trouble, or she could let herself be humiliated. For a split second, she thought of her father's words, "The true fighter knows when to use strength, and when to hold it back." But when one of them lunged at her, trying again to slap her across the face, instinct took over. She sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and used his own weight to send him stumbling to the ground. Another rushed forward, but she pivoted, knocking his legs from under him with precise control. She never threw a punch, but within seconds, the bullies were disarmed, lying on the floor in complete shock. The hallway erupted with gasps and whispers. Teachers rushed in, demanding explanations. The bullies tried to paint Alina as the aggressor, but everyone who had seen it spoke the truth. The principal called her into the office, and for a moment, she worried she might be punished. But instead, she was met with unexpected words. "I know what you did. And I also know why. Standing up for yourself is not wrong, Alina. But remember, your strength carries weight. Use it wisely." Word spread quickly. The girl no one knew had become the girl everyone respected. Some admired her. Some feared her. But more importantly, there were students who felt safer just because she existed. Kids who had suffered quietly under the same bullies now found their courage. They began standing up, not just for themselves, but for others. Alina had ignited something far bigger than a hallway fight, she had inspired a movement. Yet beneath her strength, Alina still struggled. Being the strong one was never easy. She faced isolation, whispers, and the pressure of expectation. But instead of letting it break her, she turned her energy toward helping others. She joined the school's self-defense club and began teaching techniques to anyone who wanted to learn. For the first time, her past, the pain, the lessons, the endless hours of training, found a purpose. The bullies eventually backed off. They weren't heroes anymore, they were the ones who had made the big mistake of underestimating the quiet new girl. Alina didn't just defeat them physically, she defeated the fear they once used as a weapon. By the end of the year, Alina wasn't known as the fighter but as the protector. She showed everyone that strength wasn't about fists or power plays, it was about having the courage to stand tall, even when the world tried to push you down. And the message she left behind was simple but unforgettable: never mistake kindness for weakness. Sometimes, the quietest people carry the loudest strength.